are leading this investigation, but we've spoken with Trooper Eric Foster. The Highway Patrol OHP is assisting Grady County in this through its tactical teams and its public information officer to communicate with us reporters and the public. And so we will be waiting to find out more information on I'm curious if the air conditioning is on in the car, because certainly that would affect the timeline or the timetables of this. But like as you mentioned and as Jim mentioned, the car is inoperable. She cannot drive away in the car right now, so it is a waiting game of sorts. We're going to give you a look at what kind of vehicles and what kind of equipment are at this waiting game right now. You can see several flashing lights set up at the corner of 1260 and 2960, or Quail Haven as it's called instead of 1260. But it's certainly a large presence here in Grady County, and we are just going to be finding out exactly how this ends. But as Jim mentioned, we do not know exactly what firearm she has inside of in that vehicle with her. We heard Air Trooper Foster say that they are going to be they are assuming that it is a high caliber weapon of some sort, but it could be a pistol, and certainly that would change their strategy. But I know that they when in doubt, they will be approaching from a worst case scenario point of view. And so we are going to be staying here waiting for more information. Trooper Eric Foster is going to be going back. He went back about 10 minutes ago to get an update, and we're waiting for more information here. But safe to say that Quail Haven is shut down here, closed off by the Minco Police Department, just another agency that's been responding to this scene. And it's another show of the very quick and very massive response that we've seen from all surrounding agencies. Anytime there's gunfire involving a deputy, they're going to be trying to rally to that scene to make it as safe as possible, as quickly as possible. But one thing that's worth noting is that there is no public threat to this time. It's one person in a car, and not it is a very contained scene. And so OHP has said that anyone in the area does not need to evacuate. There is no need to avoid it, but they certainly have set up a wide perimeter so they can control the area and this entire scene. So right now, Lisa, it's a waiting game. Back to you.
Thank you for that report. Barry reporting live from the command post there where law enforcement is assembling as they work through this. Here's what we know if you're just joining us. This all began around 11:45 today with a phone call to Grady County for help with a woman acting strange or irrational in the front yard of a home just south of Bridge Creek, a rural area there. We know that deputies arrived. They were able to detain that woman, and at some point that woman slipped her cuffs and she was able to get a hold of a gun. We're not sure if it was her gun or law enforcement gun. She got a hold of that gun and she was able to fire a round, hitting a bystander and hitting a Grady County deputy. Now we're told the Grady County deputy has non-life-threatening injuries. We do not have an updated condition on the other person that was hit, but we do know that that person was able to walk to the ambulance to be taken to the hospital. We heard that from Trooper Eric Foster. He's been giving us most of the information on the ground there, talking with our Barry Mangold. We've also been covering this situation from the air, and what you're looking at right now is from about 30 minutes ago when we watched the Oklahoma Highway Patrol tactical team move in closer to that vehicle that is just outside of a home there in the Grady County area. Now they say it is a waiting game. They have no reason to rush in at this point because this woman is contained inside that vehicle. They know she has a gun. They know she's willing to use it. And so they're going to take it nice and slow. And they're hoping that time will be on their side in this situation, as this vehicle could be very hot on the inside. We heard from law enforcement confirming that this vehicle is deactivated. That's why they have it surrounded. That's why they're waiting, and they're waiting to see if this woman will give up willingly. They are hoping for a very peaceful outcome here. We checked with Trooper Foster to see if there had been any sort of exchange of gunfire, and they said at this point they don't believe so. But of course, this is all preliminary information. We will be following this in the days to come as we learn more about how was this woman able to slip her handcuffs, where did she get the gun, and what led up to this irrational behavior. At this point in time, law enforcement not willing to give up the suspect's name, but they did tell us they have a pretty good idea who this woman is and her background. So we don't know if they have had any interaction in the past. And I think it's important to note, we cover a lot of barricaded suspects or standoffs, and we're typically pulled back pretty far, like you see there on the screen. And we've been able to give you a closer look here today because we're not compromising the safety of any law enforcement officers there on the ground. Typically, we're pretty far back because we don't want to give away their positions. But this is a unique situation. This woman is contained inside of a vehicle, presumably with no access to any sort of television or website. So that is certainly some good news there. I want to give you an update as to what we've monitored with our crews over at OU Medical Center. We saw a couple of ambulances arrive at OU Medical Center earlier today. We know that Chickasha and Tuttle transported 2 people to that hospital just to get checked out. And so we checked with Trooper Foster to say, what are these injuries? Do we have any condition at this time? Our understanding is that the 2 that were shot were taken as precautionary measure to get checked out and make sure they're okay. And at this point, they can't tell us the condition of the other person shot. We don't know if there is any sort of relation between the shooting suspect and the person shot, but that is all stuff we are working to gather here in the News 9 newsroom. So we're going to take a quick break, regroup, and we're back after this.
Did his wife hire a hitman?
Did you try to have him murdered?
No.
You seriously think this woman tried to have you killed? She can't order lunch.
Next after Phil.
You gotta know, you're busy and you're trying to make plans. Weather apps are good, but I'm gonna help you fill in the details that they can't. See this? A 40% chance of rain, which means 40% of you will see rain. But which 40%? Winds will be crazy this day, but when and how strong? A fast-moving front could bring some storms. I'll tell you exactly when they'll hit. Check in with me for a weather heads up.
Get warned.
Tobacco use is an overt symptom of a covert problem. I went through several years where my only reason for living was to smoke. That'd be my only reason for getting out of bed. I had to learn to love myself in order to quit. And I encourage that to anyone who's attempting to quit. You are not alone. There's many angels out there to help you along the way, if you can see them.
Car wreck?
Call Paris Devon and get more with 4.
444-4444.
For your rights.
For your peace of mind.
For your family.
For your future.
For the money you deserve.
And with the no fee guarantee, they will win your case or you pay nothing.
At Parish Devon, we make it easy to get the help you need after an accident.
Just one number can change everything.
Get more with 4. Call Paris Devon and get the no fee guarantee. 405-444-4444. Pepper wins.
The bed of the future and Telebed is here at Mathis Sleep Center. It's the only bed with revolutionary gel matrix technology. It's both firm and soft at the same time, giving you maximum comfort and support. And going on right now, buy an IntelliBed mattress and get a Mathis Brothers gift card worth up to $1,000. Plus, get 72-month no-interest financing and free delivery straight to your door. Buy an IntelliBed mattress, get a $1,000 gift card. It's going on now at Mathis Sleep Center.
After a summer of fun and over 375,000 entries, it finally came down to 1.
Deputies patrol unit. We know that that person is willing to fire a gun because so far today, one deputy has been hit and one bystander has been hit during this situation, and that suspect now barricaded inside a Grady County deputy vehicle. Now, I want to pass along some important information from law enforcement. If you are in the area, there is no reason to evacuate at this time. There is a very large perimeter set up around this home. We heard from Eric Trooper Foster just a short time ago, kind of explaining why they're taking this slow and what the situation, just how active it is at this time.
Approximately 11:45 this afternoon, the Grady County Sheriff's Office received a call of a person that was acting irrationally. And so they were coming out here to do a welfare check, to check on that person, make sure they were okay. As they arrived on scene, they determined that this person was not safe, and so they detained this female and put her in handcuffs. As they detained her, in that portion of it, becomes unclear right now as we investigate it, but she was detained, somehow got the opportunity to slip her handcuffs and get to a firearm, and started to fire on law enforcement officers and on other civilians in the area. One civilian was struck and was taken, transported by ground to a local hospital, and a law enforcement officer was struck by a round as well. Superficial wounds. I'm told that it's non-life-threatening, non-serious injuries to the law enforcement officer.
And it's important that we talk about that. We have crews covering this on the ground as well as the air. We have our Tevis Hillis at OU Medical Center. And we want to talk about the deputy and the bystander shot. We know that they were taken to OU Medical Center just a short time ago. Tevis.
Well, Lisa, just like Trooper Eric Foster just said, that deputy is experiencing non-life-threatening injuries. We don't know about that bystander quite yet, but I can tell you we've seen a pretty large presence here at OU Health. Let me just tell you who we've seen. We've seen fire departments from Chickasha and Tuttle, along with Grady County EMS. Now, we have seen some high-speed police officers pulling right in, not stopping, going as fast as they could. We have seen people jump out of that white truck right behind me, run inside. So we're still waiting to hear more about what happened to that bystander, how they're doing, and we also need to know how that sheriff is doing. Again, that's non-life-threatening injuries, but we'd like to know more. And when we know more, we'll bring it to you live on air. And at OU Health today, Tevis Hillis, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Tevis, thank you. We do want to know more. We're operating on some preliminary information, but hoping to learn more from Oklahoma Highway Patrol Trooper Eric Foster at the command post. And that's where we find Barry Mangold. We want to head out to Barry here in just a moment, but Barry, if he's ready now, he is getting an update, as you see there on the screen, from Trooper Eric Foster, as we are working to learn more about this situation in the Bridge Creek area. I know you're joined by the trooper. What's the latest out there?
Yeah, so Lisa, we are here with Trooper Eric Foster, the Highway Patrol, and you just got back from the scene. I know at last check, the suspect was barricaded, armed with an unknown weapon, and since returning, is there any new information at this moment?
We believe that the firearm is a rifle. There have been no rounds fired from inside that vehicle. She's still contained inside the vehicle. The TAC team has made contact with her and is talking with her. She is actively communicating with us, so that's a good sign.
And one question I have is the car, you mentioned that it's inoperable, she can't drive away. Is the air conditioning on in the car right now?
It is. Actually, the car is running. It's just not, she's not able to drive it away.
Okay, and so at this moment, negotiators are talking with her. It's a communication. There's a back and forth.
There is a communication right now. Tactical teams have surrounded that, and it's very secure for law enforcement, for first responders, fire, medical. It's very secure, but yes, there is a communication.
And last thing I want to ask about is just the initial response. We knew that it was for unusual behavior, strange behavior exhibited by this woman. Can you describe what you know about just exactly what that was?
I don't necessarily know. I know it was in the front yard of a residence where someone either in that residence or another residence called and was requesting someone to come check on this person. So unknown right now. That's details that we'll find out later. We just want to make sure we secure her, make sure that she's safe, and then make sure that everybody else continues to be safe.
And this will be my actual last question. Do you have this woman identified? Have authorities identified her? Is she from this area?
We do know who she is. We're not ready to identify her yet. I'm not sure if she's from the area or not, but we do have her identified.
And so, have law enforcement fired any shots, or did they fire any shots before she barricaded herself?
Not that I'm aware of, and that'll be something that, those are questions we haven't asked yet. We're just trying to make sure that she's safe and everybody else is safe. Those are things that come in the investigative portion later, so that's unknown right now.
I'm going to stop saying last question around you. Thank you very much, Trooper Foster. Thank you. Lisa, you heard it there from Trooper Foster. The situation is very much ongoing and fluid. We know that she has a long gun, a rifle in the car. Sounds like this is with the air conditioning being on in the car, just given the heat outside here, that certainly makes the timeline or the timetable of this negotiation much longer than what we've been talking about, because if the car was truly off and it's been about 3 hours now, that certainly would change the circumstances of being barricaded inside of a car. So the air conditioning is on. She's communicating with law enforcement, armed with a rifle, and the waiting game continues for now. But we'll be following this, and we'll have more developments as they come. Lisa?
Barry, thank you. So that is good news to know that she is communicating with law enforcement there on the scene. We don't know her state of mind. We didn't hear from Trooper Foster speaking to if she is still acting irrational, if she's had time to calm down or come down from whatever may have contributed to her acting irrational in the first place. Getting this all started around 11:45 in Grady County this morning. We've been following this for you from the very beginning, and we know that we're in about 3.5 hours now of this woman barricaded inside a Grady County patrol unit there on County Road 2960 and Quail Haven Road. This is just south of Bridge Creek. There's a very heavy police presence. We know that the Oklahoma Highway Patrol tactical team is on the scene. As you can see there, we had video from Jim Garner and Bob Mills, Sky News 9 up on top as the armored vehicle rolled closer to the suspect barricaded in that patrol unit. We know that they're taking their time because they say this is a safe situation. They have a very large perimeter around the scene, so there's no immediate threat to the public, so no need to be afraid if you live in that area. Law enforcement has you handled there. They have a full perimeter. They say they have the situation under control, and they are communicating with this woman. Now, we don't know the identity of the suspect at this time. They do, though. They told us that they've been able to identify the woman. They're not willing to say if she is from that area or even if she lives at that home. So it's not clear to us if she was visiting that home when she became irrational or if this is her home. But those are all things that will be coming out in the days to come. For now, the main focus is to end this peacefully, and that is what you're seeing from the scene so far here today. So if you are just joining us here at 3 o'clock, we have been following this situation in the Grady County area for some time now, and it all began with a call for help for a woman acting irrational and then barricading herself inside a vehicle. So here's how she got barricaded inside that vehicle. Grady County deputies went out to this home. They spoke with the woman. They detained this woman for her safety and theirs. And then at some point, somehow, she was able to slip the cuffs and get a hold of a gun. Us learning just moments ago from Trooper Eric Foster that it's not a small handgun. She has a rifle. She is inside this patrol unit armed with a rifle, and we know that she's already been unstable so far here today. So we are continuing to monitor this situation both on the ground and from the air. When deputies arrived, they cuffed that woman and put her in the patrol car. And then at some point, we don't know if she was cuffed in the car and got out or if she got out and then ran and barricaded herself in the car. So these are all sorts of questions that we're going to be looking for answers here in the News 9 newsroom. And we appreciate the transparency from Oklahoma Highway Patrol Trooper Eric Foster kind of stepping us through this situation and explaining why this is moving at a very slow pace, because there's no need to move so quickly when there's no immediate threat to the public and they have a full police presence there. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll check in. that quite possibly it could come to a peaceful end sooner than later, because we had been told by law enforcement that this is a deactivated vehicle. But what was unclear is whether or not the woman had air conditioning. On a hot day like today, it doesn't take long for the inside of a vehicle to become very hot. In fact, Chief Meteorologist David Payne telling us within just 30 minutes, the inside of that vehicle could have been 130 degrees, but now we are learning that she has air conditioning at least until gas runs out. We don't know the fuel amount left in that vehicle, but only time will tell if she's going to give up willingly, or if they're going to have to continue to just kind of wait her out and see what happens and try to communicate with her. So we are monitoring this situation from Jim Gardner and Bow Mill Sky News 9 up on top of this scene. And then we also have crews at OU Medical Center. And we have our Barry Mangold. He is at the command post, and he has been relaying a lot of information from OHP Trooper Eric Foster, who is the spokesperson for the situation at the time. And it's my understanding Barry has another update for us on this situation. Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, Lisa, I can just really emphasize that OHP and all the responding agencies are not rushing this situation. Yes, you have an armed suspect and barricaded in a deputy's vehicle, but Trooper Foster just was telling me that the suspect is safe, that she is communicating with law enforcement, and now they are aware of the situation, so they have tactical teams, armor, surrounding the area, closing off roads, making sure that no civilians are in place. So it really is not a rush in any way for the Highway Patrol and these responding agencies. I'm told that there are tactical teams responding not only from Grady, McLean, and Cleveland County, but also from all over Oklahoma, and so they are in effect starting shifts by just depending on who gets here and when. So the agents and the troopers who are able to respond quickly are obviously first at the scene and first working, and now they are going to be getting more and more reinforcements as other troopers from elsewhere in Oklahoma arrive at the scene with tactical gear ready to handle a barricaded situation. And there are several different cars here. We're going to zoom in a second to give you a look at what we have, the view that we have down the road here. I'm going to have my photographer Jorge zoom in to give you that look. And we've been seeing cars come and go from different agencies, but you can see a long line of red and blue lights flashing on the corner of 1260 and 2960, 2960 being the north-south road where this home is located. And really, we just know that some folks that live in this area have been kind of creeping in around the barricades or kind of the blocks that law enforcement have here. But that area, this is as close as we can get. And now I'm going to have Jorge zoom out to give you another idea of how far we are from there. That is, and in this heat, that is certainly a game changer to learn that the car, yes, is disabled. The suspect cannot drive off with it, but the air conditioning is on. So the timetable, again, there is no rush for anyone involved, it seems. And so what troopers are hoping to do is to de-escalate the situation. We don't know what sparked this incident, but we know it started with strange behavior, possibly a mental health situation. We don't know at this time what for sure it was, but it started with the suspect being detained and put into a deputy's vehicle. And as we know, somehow that transformed to the suspect breaking free of the cuffs, slipping out of them, grabbing a long gun, grabbing a rifle, and barricading and locking themselves in this vehicle. And so now it's a better safe than sorry sort of situation from law enforcement, where they are they would rather reinforce and wait it out than try to hurry and rush through this situation. Lisa?
And Barry, I don't know if Trooper Foster is still nearby where you may be able to ask him a question, but I think the big question that I have for Trooper Foster at this hour is,
I'm going to be live.
What would his mind state be, or what would her mind state be, rather, at this time? We know that she was acting irrationally around 11:45 today, but as we sit here at 3:15 and she is communicating with law enforcement, what is her state of mind?
So, Trooper Foster, I'm just hearing from Lisa Monahan here at the desk, and we're just wondering at this moment, I just kind of told them about how the mindset of OHP and how this is not a rush, or there is no hurry in this situation. But can you speak at all to the mindset of the suspect, the woman barricaded in the car? You told us that she is communicating. Is there a negotiation happening? Is there still a frantic emotion in it? How would you describe it?
Well, I would define it as a negotiation. I mean, we're talking and she's talking, communicating. You know, at this point, You know, like we said earlier, we just want to keep her safe as well as everybody else involved. And so it's of our best interest, her best interest, everybody else's best interest that we keep those lines of communication open until we can't. At this point, we're able to, and that's a good thing. The fact that she's communicating with us is great news for us. And so we'll keep doing that as long as we can to make sure that she's not a danger to herself or to someone else.
And I know the greatest questions or the largest questions that we have are about the slipping of the handcuffs, getting another gun, whether it belonged to a deputy or a civilian or herself. Has OHP asked those questions yet, or are you going to wait for this situation to be resolved before we get those details?
We haven't asked those questions, and right now those aren't of any priority to us at all. Our priority is securing her and for the safety of everybody around. That's all we're worried about right now. All of those things come later. I know they're questions that people are thinking, but we just don't have the answers to those right now, and we're not really trying to get answers to those. We're just trying to make sure that everybody's safe.
I know you talked to me just off camera about just the statewide response to a situation like this with OHP tactical teams, so that they're coming from all over the state. Can you talk a little bit more about just kind of how OHP is responding to this?
So the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, we have tactical units or members of the TAC team that are spread all across the state. When they're activated, they come from a lot of different counties. And so they're responding a lot of different counties in force, and that's a good thing because you have people that have been here from the moment the thing started, and they're in full tactical gear, they're hot, but you've got new ones that are coming in from further counties that can kind of relieve those law enforcement officers and give them kind of a break. And so it's a good system that we have to try to keep people fresh, and when people are fresh, they think fresh, things like that. So right now, we're in a great situation as far as she's contained, she is safe. It's not a standoff situation. We're not aggressing each other back and forth. This is something where we're trying to get her to think through that she can be okay if she gives up, and that's what we're doing. We have the lines of communication.
When you were at the scene about 30 minutes ago or so, did you hear anything about her presenting the firearm, brandishing the firearm? Certainly you said that no shots have been fired since she was barricaded, but has there been any show of force with that firearm?
No show of force at all. We believe that she's started to cover the windows, and so and that may be because it's hot, really, honestly. And so we're still able to communicate, and that's all that matters at this point with us.
Trooper Foster, thank you very much. Appreciate your time, sir. We'll be in touch throughout the day. Lisa, those are just the latest details there from Trooper Foster with the suspect apparently covering the windows of the vehicle that she is barricaded inside of, and with that long gun. But it seems, given the situation and the very urgent response, it seems that the tone, I don't know if it's just Trooper Foster, but it seems that the tone of the situation has certainly dialed down and certainly calmed down since we first arrived and since OHP tactical teams and other agencies were quickly and rapidly responding to this scene. Lisa?
Barry, yeah, you heard just there from Trooper Foster. They know she has a gun, and they already know she's not afraid to use it, so there's no sense in rushing this situation.
Thank you.
They are trying to wait her out at this point in time, hoping that they will be able to continue negotiating with her and get her to give up willingly and end this thing peacefully before anyone else gets hurt. We know so far, if you are just joining us, that this began around 11:45 with a Grady County deputy shot and a bystander shot, both taken to a local hospital. Now, we know this all began with this woman acting irrationally in the front yard of the home on County Road 2960 and Quail Haven Road. That's just south of the Bridge Creek area. At this time, we're not really clear if she lives in that home, if she was visiting that home, or what the circumstances were that led to her being in this situation, acting so strangely. But those are things we will be working to figure out in the days to come. A big focus for us, though, is trying to figure out how those shooting victims are doing. When we've been checking in with Trooper Foster, we didn't have a lot of update on the conditions. We only knew that that the deputy had some non-life-threatening injuries, and that the bystander was taken to the hospital with an unknown condition. And that's why we have our Tevis Hillis outside of OU Medical Center to keep an eye on this for us. Tevis, my understanding is you have an update on their conditions at this time.
Yeah, absolutely, Lisa. Let me just tell you, we have been able to confirm with the Grady County Sheriff's Department that the deputy that was injured during this incident has been treated and released. Again, he had no life-threatening injuries, already treated, already released. Let's talk about what happened on that scene. We know that person, that woman inside the car, fired off a few rounds, hitting a sheriff and also that bystander. Now, we do not know the condition of the bystander, but Trooper Eric Foster has been able to tell us that bystander was able to get up and walk. So that is good news. They are being treated right now. We do not know the extent of their condition, but we do know the extent of the deputy's condition, which he is already treated and released. So that is some good news today. Lisa, I'm going to toss it back to you in the newsroom.
Tevis, thank you. That is the outcome we were hoping for. We are going to continue to monitor the situation of the bystander shot there as well, and we will bring you updates just as soon as they are available. For now, I want to head out to Jim Gardner in Bob Mill Sky News 9 because he is over the scene that is still very active, but it's kind of a waiting game sort of situation out there, Jim.
That's right. You're still looking at that armored vehicle there. Now, this may be, where are you looking at there, DJ? That may be another armored vehicle that just showed up. We have other TAC teams, Lisa, that we've saw just arrive on scene here. So they are standing by to switch out. And Trooper Foster basically was going to say what I was going to say earlier, was that you got to understand all these TAC team guys have been here quite a while. The OHP TAC team, which is that armored vehicle right there with the Ram on the front of it. It is very hot on the ground, I can tell you right now. It is hot down there. They're in full tactical gear, and like Trooper Foster said, they're bringing in other TAC teams that can rotate out with these guys so they can stay fresh and not just be standing there in the heat for hour upon hour here. And so it looks like I've seen at least a couple of different TAC teams arrive on scene, so they will be rotating them out. And like I said, it's just a waiting game here. The vehicle is disabled. It is running. It does have air conditioning, but I can tell you, as hot as it is on the ground, it's just how long is that vehicle going to keep running, sitting there, and not moving. I mean, it is hot on the ground, and that's really hard on a car and on the engine. And plus, how much gas was in that vehicle when all this started. So and I can tell you, Lisa, if that runs out of gas, it is going to get so hot in that car very quickly that may be a game changer. And I think that's just what everybody's relaxed on, staying back, and they're talking to her. And just keep talking to her, and hopefully this will play out, and maybe the environmental conditions will take effect if that deputy's unit quits and the heat goes up inside that car. Trooper Foster already said she was putting stuff up on the windows to try to cool it down, which means to me that the air conditioning may not be working as good, and she's just trying to keep it as cool in there as possible, because the windows are very dark anyway. So even if she hung something up, it really is not going to affect her being able to see in, because the windows on that SUV were very, very dark. And so, you know, it's just a waiting game here, Lisa. Like I said, she is contained. There's no harm to anybody around here, any civilians around here, anybody, other houses. The closest house to this thing is probably over a quarter mile away. And there's one just south of her that's probably a couple of hundred to probably a football field length south of that home there. But I believe they got those people out of that home. So again, she's contained, and we'll just we'll just keep letting this play out, but they'll start rotating TAC teams out here probably pretty soon, Lisa. Jim Gardner live from Bob Mill Sky News 9. Back to you.
Jim, that's a great explanation of this sort of statewide response as we see these TAC teams switch out, monitoring this one woman inside a Grady County deputy vehicle. And we know that she has air conditioning. Only time will tell, as we are coming up on 4 hours of the situation. Now, we've heard from Trooper Foster explaining the difference between a standoff versus a barricaded suspect, and why they are calling this just a barricaded suspect versus a standoff. A standoff is a very active, sort of forceful situation where they have this one contained. There is not a public safety threat at this time, so if you're in and around the area and you're seeing a heavy police presence, you are okay. They have a very large perimeter set up around this scene, so no need to worry where that is concerned. At this time, they are just being very slow and methodical with their response to this situation. They are sort of waiting her out, and we heard Jim Gardner talk about it. She has air conditioning, but only time will tell just how long she'll be able to maintain inside that vehicle when the fuel starts to drain and she loses air condition. Chief Meteorologist David Payne telling us it'll take 30 minutes to bring the inside of that vehicle to 130 degrees. So they are kind of waiting her out. They are in constant negotiation with her. We are not really clear as to her mind state, but we know that at 11:45 here on Friday afternoon, or Friday morning rather, she was acting irrational. She was acting very strangely. We don't know how she is now. We don't know her state of mind at this time, and neither do they. They just know that she is armed with a rifle, and she's not afraid to use it. She's already hit a Grady County deputy who has been treated at a local hospital and released, and she's hit a bystander. So that is our situation here as we monitor this in the Bridge Creek area in Grady County. And you can just see from Jim's shot here the heavy police presence in the area as they want to keep everyone in that area as safe as possible. I don't know if we have Barry Mangold to show us the police presence there on the ground, but I noticed in his shot earlier as they started to do the swap out, the rotation of officers. It is very hot outside today. They are in full tactical gear, and they need a break too because they don't have the benefit of air condition like the suspect at this time. So we're seeing that they're doing shift changes right now as this is now in its 4th hour of a barricaded suspect inside a Grady County deputy vehicle. And we heard from Trooper Eric Foster earlier today about their communication with this woman. Let's take a listen now.
We believe that the firearm is a rifle. There have been no rounds fired from inside that vehicle. She's still contained inside the vehicle. The TAC team has made contact with her and is talking with her. She is actively communicating with us, so that's a good sign.
That is certainly a good sign. Hopefully they were able to get through. But again, I'll reiterate, this woman may have been having some sort of mental episode, and that's what led to all of this in the first place. So we don't know her state of mind, and neither do they. And that's why they are being so cautious with this. And that's why we are in the 4th hour. And presumably it could go for some time, knowing now that she has air condition and she's inside of that vehicle armed with a rifle. So Jim Garner, Bomb Hill Sky News 9, I want to go out to you now and see, are you seeing any activity there at this time? At one point, we saw another armored vehicle move in and then kind of sort of back off. Have you seen any other activity in the area?
No, Lisa, we really haven't. We've just seen the other armored vehicle, and we've seen other TAC teams show up, and they are getting, their gear on right now, and, getting ready to rotate out because, like I said, it's very hot. And those OHP TAC team members have been down there for several hours, and so they will start rotating them out. Also, Lisa, we want to remind, we're going into, it's 3:33 now. We'll start going into rush hour here, and people that may live down in this area, even though it's a very rural area, let's pull back, DJ, and just give people an update here of the roads. Now, what you're looking at, that intersection, the road from the left side of the screen to the right, that's road 2960. The road going from the T up to the top of your screen, that is 1260. Okay, that is about a mile, just a little over a mile south of 44, south of Bridge Creek area. So you cannot travel down in this area at all. So if you come down this way, you're not going to be able to go on 1260 or is it 12.9 or 1260? I've gotten so confused here with all the stuff. But either way, you cannot travel these roads down in this area. So just be aware of that. Like I said, Lisa, as we go start getting into the rush hour here, people that may live down in this area, they're going to have to find a different way around this area to get home. But right now, that's where we stand. We really haven't seen them change out anybody. Another armored vehicle has arrived on scene. And so we'll just keep it monitoring it, and we'll keep you updated. Jim Gar reporting live from Bob Mills, Sky News 9, back to you.
And Jim, I'm sure you'll agree, we've covered a lot of these sort of situations in our careers, and I think it's important to point out for our viewers that we're not typically as zoomed in as you see here on TAC teams or officers in their positions when they're dealing with a barricaded suspect, and that's for the safety of officers. We never want to give up their positions and put their lives in jeopardy, but in this situation, it's extremely extremely unique because this woman is barricaded inside of a vehicle, presumably with no access to television or the internet to know where these officers are stationed as they slowly move closer and closer and put their positions on this vehicle where this woman is inside armed with a rifle. Can you talk a little bit about just how you would typically handle this situation versus how we are handling it here today?
Well, that's right, Lisa. You know, today we have the internet. We have, you know, all kinds of, you can get it on your phone. You know, TV. If it was an active shooter or something like that, or a standoff where they had several TAC team members all around, we would stay wide. We would not show the movement of those TAC team members just in case somebody was inside and had their TV on and was watching movements. And believe me, you know, when I was flying out in Los Angeles, we actually had people that would do that. We actually had one guy sitting in his lazy boy recliner, you know, drinking and watching the TV set, but we never would show where the TAC team was or anything, because when they broke into the house, he was sitting there watching TV. You know, now that's a common courtesy for us, even if we're not asked to do that. We do it anyway because we don't want to endanger those TAC team members or give that person inside the house any kind of indication where they are moving. So that's a common courtesy from us. We don't show the TAC team members, but like you said, Lisa, in this situation, she's contained to that car. She's just barricaded in that car. There's, you know, there's nobody going to be in danger. There's no TAC team members in danger, you know, because they're all undercover. They know where she is. It's in that car. And so that's why we're able to show you everything that's going on down here. Like I said, it'd be a different situation if they was in the house, because you don't know if they got the TV on, or if they got a phone or whatever, you know, carrying it around. And, you know, you can really give away a police officer's position if you zoom in on him and in the backyard or something, and that person inside the house knows exactly where he is, so you put their lives in danger. But this is a different situation. That's why we're able to show you what's going on. And that's how we do it, Lisa. Jim Gar reporting live from Bob Mills, Sky News 9. Back to you.
Always safety first for us, Jim. Thank you. And that is why we were able to watch this situation unfold. We're going to continue to monitor the situation. live. When the homeowner called for help, Grady County deputies came out and they arrested this woman. I don't want to say arrest, actually, she was detained. There was no arrest warrant. It was more of a check the welfare, but she was put into handcuffs. And at some point, she was able to slip the cuffs, got a hold of a gun, and fired off rounds, hitting a bystander and hitting a Grady County deputy. At this hour, we know that Grady County deputy is okay, treated and released at a local hospital. We do not have the condition of the other shooting victim at this time, but we are continuing to gather this information as quickly as it becomes available. And our Barry Mangold is there on the scene, on the ground. We want to head out to Barry now for more on this one. Barry.
Yeah, Lisa, we're on County Road 1260, where we've seen numerous different agencies and several units of different tactical teams with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol rush to get to this scene, and where they are now essentially rotating shifts on surrounding this car, negotiating and talking with the woman inside. And what we've learned is that there is a successful negotiation, a conversation happening between this woman who is armed with a rifle inside of that deputy vehicle and the troopers, police officers and deputies who are outside. And we are not sure exactly where that conversation is going, how long it may last, but we know that as we've tried to differentiate during our coverage, this is not a standoff. This is not a situation where there are guns pointed at either direction, but there is instead this is a barricaded subject where troopers are taking their time and not rushing to correspond, to conversate with this person, and to eventually, hopefully, peacefully end this situation. And so what we know is that the woman, as you said, was able to slip out of handcuffs and get a gun, this rifle, before shooting the deputy and a civilian prior to getting into that car and barricading herself. The biggest questions we have surround those interactions. How did she get out of the handcuffs? Whose firearm, whose rifle did she grab and shoot those two people with? Was it the deputy's, her own, or somebody else's? Those questions, as Trooper Eric Foster, the Highway Patrol, has told us, those are not the questions being asked right now. They are the top and only priority is peacefully ending this situation. Now we're going to get a zoom in and give you a look at just the law enforcement that has swarmed here we're looking down County Road 1260 towards 2960, and you can see there's just kind of a long line that's blocked by the trees of blue and red lights just surrounding this entire scene. And when we spoke to Trooper Foster earlier, he communicated with a calm demeanor and said that this is not a situation where they are rushing to a conclusion. They are not rushing to an end, and there is no active threat to anyone involved. And so they are urging folks to stay peaceful, and they are not saying that anyone needs to evacuate or leave the area. There is no threat to the public, according to Trooper Foster. And so now it is a waiting game, seeing when they could get this woman out safely. Lisa?
Barry, thank you for that update. And if you have an opportunity to ask Trooper Foster to ensure that she has no access to any sort of television or cell phone, I'm assuming that they're probably communicating through the unit inside of the patrol unit. You know, they have a way of communicating with other law enforcement. I am assuming that is what's going on there, but if we can get clarification, that would be very, very helpful as we continue to monitor this situation there on the ground and from the air. As you can see there, the armored vehicle has been very close to this patrol unit for more than an hour now. We saw another armored unit go closer to the vehicle than back up. And just within the last 15 minutes or so, watching Jim Gardner's shot here from Bob in the Sky News 9, I saw more officers sort of taking positions on the ground. And I'm wondering if they're on the ground, they're getting a little bit more, they're advancing it slowly and slowly. Are they planning to take action? That is what I don't know. Jim Gardner, have you seen that from your shot up top?
Well, that's right, Lisa. And this is normally standard procedure. Once the TAC team's activated, they do have snipers that they deploy and they set up. And that is to protect the TAC team itself when they start to breach or if somebody comes out. So you can see them there. They're in position to where if something happens and the TAC team doesn't see it, they can take that person, take the shot there to keep that person from harming the TAC team. That's their sole reason right there. That doesn't mean that they're going to wait till there's movement in the car and then do something. They are there for the safety of the TAC team. They are set up. They have eyes on it. They are in position to where if all of a sudden she jumps out of the car and the TAC team is not aware, they can take care of it and end it to protect their TAC team. So that's why they're there. That's not trying to escalate anything at all. That's just a pure safety precaution. That's pretty much standard procedure. When they deploy the TAC teams, they will deploy snipers if they have an advantage from an vantage point to be able to see that target just to protect their TAC team. Jim Garner reporting live from Bob Mills, Scotty's 9. Back to you.
That is a very important distinction there, Jim. Thank you for that update. If you are just joining us here at 3:45, it has now been 4 hours that a woman has been barricaded with a rifle inside a Grady County deputy unit there, just south of Bridge Creek on County Road 2960 and Quail Haven Road. Here's what we know so far from law enforcement. We know this woman was acting irrational around 11:45. Grady County deputies responded to the scene, detained the woman, had her in handcuffs, and then somehow she was able to slip her handcuffs and get a hold of that rifle, firing off a couple of rounds, striking a Grady County deputy and a second shooting victim. We know the Grady County deputy is okay, and the shooting victim is at a local hospital. We know they were taken there by ambulance, and we know that they were able to walk to that ambulance, so we are hoping that that is going to be a good, positive outcome from that situation. We do not have any sort of update on the second shooting victim's condition at this hour, but we are monitoring that situation very closely, as we have been also monitoring this situation here in Grady County for several hours now. We have heard from Trooper Foster telling us this is a slow approach. They are being very methodical. They know that this woman is sort of on borrowed time. She's in this vehicle. It's deactivated, so she can't go anywhere, but she does have air conditioning. The alternative would mean 130-degree temperatures within just 30 minutes and then only get hotter and hotter from there. So if she runs out of fuel, the inside of that vehicle will become very, very hot, and they are hoping that she will peacefully surrender and end this in a very calm, peaceful way. They don't want anyone else hurt here today, and that's why we've been monitoring the situation for so long, because as Jim pointed out, she could change her mind at any time. We don't know her state of mind at 3:45 on a Friday afternoon compared to what it was at 11:45 this morning. But we know at that time she was acting so strangely that someone called 911 for help. Grady County deputies responded, and this is where this entire scene began to unfold. So we have been monitoring it both from Jim Garner and Bob Mills Sky News 9 shot, and also there on the ground with Barry Mangold. We've also been watching what kind of played out at OU Medical Center earlier today, and that was, we saw Chickasha and Tuttle ambulances, paramedics delivering the two shooting victims to the hospital, and we just heard within the last half hour that the Grady County deputy is okay. That deputy was treated and released. At this time, we do not yet know the identity of that deputy, but we hope for a very speedy recovery for that law enforcement officer there. And we are still waiting to hear the condition of the second shooting victim. We don't know if that shooting victim is somehow related to the suspect barricaded in the car, but law enforcement has assured us they do know who the suspect is. And they know her background, so they know who they're working with, and that right now they are in constant negotiation with this woman. They have not yet revealed to us what her state of mind may be like, but they did say that there is negotiation underway, so we are hopeful as they rotate shifts here and they bring in other tactical teams from across the state to relieve these officers who have been positioned here for 4 hours now, that she will give up. That is the hope here, that it will end peacefully. So we're going to continue to monitor the situation. And this breaking news, a heavy police presence in Grady County this afternoon as they are surrounding a home on County Road 2960 and Quail Haven Road for a subject barricaded inside of a Grady County deputy vehicle. Let me walk you through how we came to this. If you're just joining us here, this all began around 11:45 this morning, so we are now in the fourth hour that these officers have been surrounding this Grady County deputy vehicle with a woman armed with a rifle inside. It is deactivated, and she has been in negotiations with officers there on the scene. We know that she has a rifle. We know that Grady County deputies responded to this home after receiving a call about a woman acting strangely in the front yard of this home. They were able to detain her, but somehow, after getting her into handcuffs, she was able to slip the cuffs and get a hold of a gun. We know that she still has a gun, and we know, as evidenced today, she is not afraid to use that gun. So they are taking this very slow, methodical approach and hoping to negotiate with this woman to have her willingly get out of the vehicle. We want to go to a little interview we had with Trooper Eric Foster about a half hour ago as he explained why officers on the scene are not making any quick movements, why they're not trying to escalate the scene, and why they're just taking this nice and slow.
The initial response, we knew that it was for unusual behavior, strange behavior exhibited by this woman. Can you describe what you know about just exactly what that was?
I don't necessarily know. I know it was in the front yard of a residence where, someone either in that residence or another residence called and was requesting someone to come check on this person. So unknown right now. That's details that we'll find out later. We just want to make sure we secure her, make sure that she's safe, and then make sure that everybody else continues to be safe.
Now, we're not really sure what her state of mind is at this hour, 4 hours into this ordeal, but we know that law enforcement is in constant communication. We heard from Trooper Foster a little time ago that she has started to put things up on the windows. Now, we don't know if that's just to more disguise herself inside that vehicle that has darkly tinted windows, or if the temperatures inside that vehicle are starting to climb. Chief Meteorologist David Payne told us if there is no air condition inside that vehicle, within 30 minutes, it would be about 130 degrees and then would just go up from there. So if she drains the fuel in that deactivated vehicle, it will become very hot very quickly. So we have seen shift changes happening for the TAC teams there on the scene, as it seems as though we're just in this waiting game. They are trying to wait her out and negotiate with her, hoping that she will give up willingly. Jim Gardner and Balmil Sky News 9 have been over the scene, and photojournalist Darren Johnson giving us some incredible views of this scene unfolding. And it's a fairly unique situation. We are not typically able to show you all that you are able to see here today for officer safety, but we know that this woman is contained inside the vehicle without any access to television to be able to see the positions of officers there on the ground. And we know that they are negotiating with this woman, and we are hoping to see this come to a peaceful end here on a Friday afternoon. For now, I'm going to head out to Jim Garner and Balmil Sky News 9. Tell us what you're seeing from above the scene, Jim.
Well, Lisa, it's just about as it's been for the past couple of hours here. Lisa, let me tell you something. Really, I really get tired of people trying to tell me how to do my job a lot of times. I've worked with the best TAC teams in the country. And, we're in a different situation here. This is not a standoff. This is a barricaded suspect in a car. So when I show things from the helicopter, I'm explaining why they are in that position and why they're doing what they are doing, Lisa. And right now, we are in a barricaded suspect in that white car right there. Now, we have shooters that are off to the north. They are there for the protection of the TAC team. They are going to start switching out TAC teams here pretty soon. So as you got people rotating out and going into different all positions, they have to have somebody that watches that car the entire time. So that's where we're standing. That's why we're able to show you this stuff, is because this is a barricaded suspect in a car. They are not in that home. What you're looking at right now is road 2960, which runs from the left of your screen to the right. You'll see 1260 that runs from the T to the top of your screen. We're getting ready to go into rush hour here. People that live down in this area, you cannot travel this road at all. You want to avoid this area at all costs. Right now, they're negotiating with this woman. hopefully this will end peacefully, and they're just going to wait till attrition either takes the car quits, the air conditioning quits, and like David Payne said, it could get 130 degrees in that car, and so I believe that's what they are just waiting on. They're talking to her. You know, we know that when they arrived on scene, she's had unstable actions. She was not of the right mind. She shot a deputy sheriff already. She shot a civilian, but they're just taking their time. They're not rushing anything. They're not trying to escalate anything. So that's where we stand right now, Lisa. And it's probably going to go on like this until either that car quits or the air conditioning quits, and or the woman just decides to give up. And that's what we hope. We hope this ends peacefully. Jim Gar reporting live from Bob Mills, Sky News 9. Back to you.
And Jim, we appreciate your expertise in these situations and the view that you and photojournalist Aaron Johnson are able to give us as this scene unfolds in Grady County. We have been watching this for many hours now. This has been ongoing. Now in the 4th hour, it's very hot outside, and soon we're going to have to wait it out, but as soon it will become very hot inside that vehicle as well. So if you are just joining us here at 4 o'clock, this breaking news situation began around 11:45 this morning when someone phoned 911 asking for help because a woman was in front of this home acting very irrational. At that point in time, deputies arrived, arrested the woman, and she somehow slipped her handcuffs, got a hold of a vehicle, shot a Grady County deputy, and a second shooting victim. We know that the deputy is okay at this hour, and we do not know the condition of the second shooting victim, but we are following this situation as we have been, and you are now watching News 9 at 4 o'clock with Carl and Bobby.
Lisa, we appreciate it. Great job today detailing what's going on in Grady County, and throughout our newscast, we will be following the situation there. Again, a woman able to somehow slip her handcuffs, grab a gun, shoot a deputy and another person.
So OHP, the troopers are telling us the deputy was treated and released, and the other person was seen walking to an ambulance. That was a good sign, the walking part. Well, the suspect has barricaded herself inside a Grady County Sheriff's Department vehicle. We have team coverage. If you've been watching, you know what's going on, and we now begin with Barry Mangold near Bridge Creek there in Grady County. Barry.
Yeah, Carl, Bobby, we know the woman in that vehicle still has air conditioning available to her, which definitely extends the timeline that we're working with. And troopers, specifically Trooper Eric Foster, has said that there is an ongoing conversation between troopers behind armor speaking to the suspect from behind the vehicle, and she is conversating. She is communicating with troopers. When this could resolve and when this could end, that remains to be seen. We're going to give you a look at the response from our view by zooming in down County Road 1260, and you can see the long line of blue and yellow lights. But several agencies have responded, including OHP tactical teams. One just responded, specifically a medic just responded, and there's obviously Grady County as well as several other surrounding agencies that have showed up to the scene here. We also have views from above from Bob Mills, Sky News 9, and Jim Gardner giving us the angle from above on just the scale of this operation and the sheer amount of law enforcement that are now essentially playing the waiting game all around this car and this suspect, and they're not in any rush. Here's Trooper Eric Foster.
The subject barricaded herself inside a patrol vehicle that is inoperable. She can't drive away from it, but she is in that vehicle. So she is contained. We have a hard perimeter around that area, and so that we're able to keep everybody safe.
And at this point, the major questions that we still have: how was she able to slip out of the cuffs? What behavior was she exhibiting that drew deputies here in the first place? And is the gun that she has now belong to her? Does it belong to somebody else? Is it the deputies? All these questions are important, but they are not top of mind right now to the troopers here at the scene. They are working meticulously and slowly to end the situation peacefully. Live in Grady County, Barry Mangold, Oklahoma Zone, News 9.
All right, Barry, we appreciate it. There again, this has been going on since about 11:45 today, and you can see that scene right here. We have all sorts of law enforcement, OHP, Grady County Sheriff's Department as well down there helping out, and they're basically just taking these shifts and waiting this woman out as she is inside that vehicle.
That's right. Now, as you know, if you're from that area, Grady County butts up right to McLean County in that area. Like, they're not too far from County Line Road. So The police departments there helping them right now. We've got Newcastle, we've got Blanchard, Tuttle, of course, Chickasha, that's the hub there of Grady County. Purcell, the hub of McLean County. They are all working with them right now just to make sure it doesn't get out of hand and pass this perimeter right here. Again, Jim, above the scene there in Bridge Creek, those closest towns, Tuttle, Newcastle, and Blanchard surrounding that.
And right now they have, I think, you know, Barry was talking to us, I think, for like a half mile down the road there. So obviously you see the scene there. Let's go out to Jim Gardner now with more on his perspective from the sky. But this has been a long waiting game, and it continues to be one, Jim.
Well, that's right, Carl. And like I said, nothing's really changed, you know, since the last report. They are still talking to the person. She is still in the car. You know, like I said, the only thing that's going to make this change is if she gets out of the car and gives up, or that car finally runs out of gas, or it just quits because. But one thing with these units, you know, they are specially built. You know, some of them have bigger radiators. They have equipment because most of the time the police officers are stopped and have to be somewhere and stopped and stationary for a long time. So they have bigger cooling systems and everything like that. It's just going to really depend on how that car's going to, you know, how long it will last. And that's really, I think, Carl, is what they're trying to do here is just let the attrition game play. And at some point, if that quits, like David Payne said, the temperature could go up to 130 degrees inside that vehicle, and she will decide to get out. But you're also dealing with a very unstable person, a person that's already shot 2 people. So you're dealing with somebody that may not be in the right mind. So they need to keep it calm. They need to keep her talking. They need to try to assure her that everything is going to be fine and talk her out of that car. You know, the other thing is if she has any water, if there was any water in that car, that she's, you know, able to get to and drink. You know, that's another thing. You know, we've been going on 4 hours or over. You know, even though air conditioner's going on in there, the anxiety and the heat coming through the windows, you know, it's going to make you thirsty. And so that's really where they're standing at right now. There hasn't been much movement. They have other TAC teams ready to switch out when they're called for. And so basically that's just where we stand right now, Carl. And it's probably going to be this way for a long time. But we're in a good position. We'll keep you updated if anything moves. Jim Gardner live for Bob Mills, Sky News 9. Back to you.
OHP has said over and over again, Jim, thank you. This is not a standoff, not a standoff.
Barricaded suspect.
They barricaded suspect, and they are talking with this suspect. They have been talking with her, and so that's the good news. And so we, of course, hope that it comes to a peaceful conclusion. We'll be watching this. There is some other news that happened today that we do want to get to. Documents, folks, related to the FBI search of former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate were unsealed this afternoon.
We hear there was no objection from Mr. Trump's lawyers. Skylar Henry reports from Washington.
The search warrant and an inventory of what the FBI took from former President Trump's Florida home is now public after a federal judge followed through with the Justice Department's request to unseal the documents. The records show that agents were directed to seize items marked as classified or related to national security. They were also told to look for evidence that official records had been altered, destroyed, or concealed. The property receipt shows the FBI retrieved 11 sets of records during Monday's search at Mar-a-Lago, including some labeled top secret. Attorney General Merrick Garland asked the court to release the warrant and inventory after Mr. Trump condemned the search as a politically motivated raid.
The department filed the motion to make public the warrant and receipt in light of the former president's public confirmation of the search